Hello, Robotics Notes fans. Happy August 19th. It is 12 midnight, and it is time for another episode of Robotics Notes Elite like Animal Crossing. I have a feeling this is going to be the fuck is that noise? Did you guys hear that? Did a swarm of alien moths just passed by my window? I hope you heard that. That like weird squeaking. Let's load the data. I have a feeling this is going to be a long episode if this is the episode I think it is. Or the day I think it is. Few employee and tourist vehicles are parked in the TNSC lot. As far as I can tell, there's nobody around. We're getting into the yawns early today, folks. We have 30 minutes until our meeting with JAXA. I exit the bus that only comes around twice a day and massage my shoulders. Then I snap my neck a few times. Since Uncle Sinomia and the JAXA folks are giving us a ride back, we don't have to worry about that. If it weren't for that, I'd never take the bus out here. The pain, the agony, just end me. These sunbeams are legit deadly. Kojiro-san, could you please try to walk at least a little? Dude, Karate-senpai, you smell good. Sniff, sniff. Hey, stop it. You smell like vanilla. This slut is trying to be sexy. Just blow up already. Huh? Frau's wearing her school uniform for once and is leaning on tiny Juna's shoulders. She's being dragged along. Since Akiho decided that Model 2 is going to be built by all of us, we forced Frau to tag along. She spent the entire time in the bus cursing us. Not my idea of fun. Yawn's crazy. In any case, I was right to have Juna look after her. It's thanks to her that we somehow got Frau all the way here, despite the fact that she gave up on walking. It would have been impossible if it were me or Subaru. Jun-chan is actually pretty athletic. She has a small body and the heart of a chicken, but those long years of karate training weren't for nothing. At this point, I guess the reason she's so weak is more to do with her mental strength than anything else. Alright kids, listen up. Michi, our chaperone, gathers us in front of the H2 rocket replica. Oh my god. Very yawn today. Rocket replica begins to bark orders. This dude was nowhere to be found when we almost got kidnapped, but he's here today as our advisor. Since this is going to involve large sums of cash changing hands, it's a bad idea to have only students present. We're gonna decide our stance for the meeting with Tennoji-san. Stance? Yeah, this is an important pro tip. Japanese people aren't good at debates, get me? So? You guys never had a proper debate, have you? Of course not. Schools don't teach you that kind of stuff. That's why I believe this meeting will be the perfect opportunity to train you in the art of debate. Is he finally starting to act like a teacher? Is the sky falling? To that end, I won't be participating in the discussions at all. Zero. Zilch. Good luck. Wow, you're abandoning us? Good luck, my ass. I take back everything I thought to myself. I'll be napping on the bench somewhere, so just report to me when the meeting is over, little Sinomia. That's that. You guys have got this. Go kick some butt. Cannot believe how irresponsible he is. Wasn't expecting anything from him to begin with, and I'm still disappointed. Didn't think he'd back out of the meeting entirely. His lack of motivation is even worse than Kona-chan's. Well, there's no point in crying over spilled milk. Let's be on our way or we'll be late. Hey, you're an underclassman. You're not the leader here. Didn't I tell you that I'm not fond of athletic club-style hierarchies? Subaru spits out his words and begins to walk alone. The meeting in the conference room of the Takasaki Observatory, the same place we were taken last time. The observatory was built on the tip of the carved-out cape. Visible from here, it's only 5 minutes away on foot. Come on, let's do a group chant or something. You mean your central T blast of spirit, your thing? No thank you. We're not a sports club. But it'll help us feel a sense of you. Oh my god. Guys, man. Jeez. I'm freaking yawning. It'll help us feel a sense of unity. Guys, wait up. Are we gonna be okay? The meeting with Jaxa starts on time, miraculously. One of the best CGs in the game. We're gaming. There are only a handful of participants. 5 members from the Robot Club and Tenoji-san from Jaxa. Akiho's pops isn't even here. Since Tenoji-san is the sole person in charge of this project, maybe that's not a big deal. Akiho seemed displeased that her dad isn't present. That said, she easily succumbs to Tenoji-san's smile and explanation that he had work. It'll just be us. And you'd like to build a new second unit instead of the one you were testing the other day? That's correct. Wonderful news. Model 1 has a unique build to it, but it'd be tough if only the legs moved. That was her initial proposal, after all. Whether we receive support or not always hinged on accepting it. Plus, Akio was the only one dead set on Model 1, so once she gave in, it was only a matter of time. The issue is... So have you already decided on a design concept for prototype Model 2? Not yet. I wanted to hear everybody's thoughts on the matter first. Allow me to explain. Subaru raises his hand and begins to speak with a trembling voice. Totally forgot that he's prone to bouts of nervousness. He might as well put on Mr. Pleiades' mask. I prepared an outline. Ha. You don't have to be so nervous. You don't get good. Why did I laugh like that? This isn't a job interview. Let's relax and have some fun. That's why I didn't have the other TNSC folks come in today. I figured since I'm close in age to all of you, we could be have a little more relaxed conversation. Thank you. Subaru, still disoriented, pulls a notebook from his bag and opens it on the table. Wowie. The pages of the notebook are filled with Japanese characters. He apparently didn't type this out on his phone droid because he didn't want his dad to find out. Does his dad go through his phone? Oh, Subaru leaves his notebook at school so his dad doesn't discover he's helping us out. Subaru's high-strung nature and meticulous work ethic is what Akio called perverted yesterday. Sorry, I know it's hard to read. No, not at all. I think you did an excellent job. What's that? It's like a fluffy in my room. It's floating around. Subaru couldn't stop blushing and go on with the explanation. I'm not blushing. His face is all red. Cherry boy. Uts. Huh? Could have sworn I heard Frau say something, but I choose to ignore it. Let's not get too caught up in a specific format and just open up the table. You can use the whiteboard too. So Subaru starts fidgeting. Isn't good. He's so nervous he's lost his usual cool. Wow, I didn't think Hidaka-kun was the type to get nervous. I can kinda relate. Juna says as she sticks out her tongue teasingly. Both Juna and Subaru have poor mental fortitude, I guess. Frau is antisocial. Akio and I are just idiots. Man, there's not a single normal person in this club, is there? Aki-chan, give him some backup. What should I do? How about reading from his notebook? Subaru-kun can just correct you if you make a mistake. That'll take the pressure off him and let things move more quickly. Guys, I don't know why I'm yawning so bad. I don't know what the deal is there. It's just happening. Show us what you're made of, Madam President. Alright, I've got this. Sorry, thanks. Subaru forfeits the notebook to Akiho. He's as logical as always when it comes to stuff like this. Akiho gets up from her seat and stands in front of the whiteboard. But before we begin, I'd like to say something as the president. Akio looks at each of our faces. I want to build Gun Build 2 to be something only the 5 of us here can make. I had Jin help with some chores during the construction of Gun Build 1, but this time I want all our talents to be used. Like something that only Jin can do, or something only Fraubo can do. Let's all build Gun Build 2 together. Woohoo! Where does that leave me? I'm only good at playing video games. Well, whatever. I'm just going to do what I've always done. Yes, that sounds wonderful. Hee-ho. Didn't I sound like a bona fide president just now? Alright, enough with the pats on the back. Let's get moving. Ugh. She gets carried away whenever she's praised. So it's important to maintain a good balance between complimenting her and scolding her. There's a sort of summary written here, so I guess I'll start from there. Is that okay, Subaru? Yes, please. Alrighty then. Let's begin. First, I highlighted the factors that we need to design Prototype Model 2. For each factor, we should select the most appropriate option in order to end up with the best combination. I plan on drawing up the blueprints afterwards. The factors I've highlighted are the following. What our expo performance will be, aka the single most important thing to consider after completion. Basic structure. Materials. Power source. Motor. Operating method. Programming. That's what's written here. If we can decide on all of those things, we'll have a good understanding of what the robot is going to be. For the record, Gun Build 1 was designed to focus solely on walking. In other words, it's not these legs are just for show, it's this upper body is just for show. Keep the anime references to yourself, please. Subaru's cheeky nature briefly resurfaces. I guess he's loosening up a little. I wrote about the failures of Prototype Model 1 on the previous page. Not that there were any failures. She flips the page, all the while making excuses. The cause of Model 1's failure was the lack of technological oomph and good materials. I.e., if a major company with enough capital and tech used the same design doc, a solid robot could be made. Places like Conda, US Robocom, and Audi all have excellent track records. One can also argue that Model 1's bar was set too high during the design phase. No matter how strong a design, if you don't have the means to make it happen, nothing good will come of it. Subaru, could you stop trash talking Model 1? I mean, it did walk like it was supposed to. Regardless, it is still considered a failure, at least through the eyes of society, which we live in. I have a suggestion. Tanoji-san raises her hand with a big smile. Model 1 could only move its legs, right? I don't think there'd be any point to making a robot that was equal to Model 1 or worse. If possible, I'd like to see the arms, legs, hips, and even the head move too. You know, like the robot that Yashio-kun was operating during Robo 1. It'd be difficult for even a world-class manufacturer to build a robot of that mobility at over 10 meters tall. Yeah, I figured. But we can't know for sure until we try. I want to avoid building it without a plan in place. Personally, I think Model 1 is design sacrilege. Uh-oh, Subaru's getting heated. That was some questionable language just now. Like I said before, given how mangled their original vision became, I feel bad for the designer. I didn't modify it because I wanted to. No, but you had to. All because your planning was insufficient. We only have 6 months to build Model 2. We need to decide on what we can do and what our limitations are. By the way, how many servo motors did Tanegashima Machine 3 use? It had 24. Why? If we attempt to mount that many on a giant robot, the motors alone will be a lot of added weight. But if you want to make it move intricately, you'll need at least that many. You mentioned our expo performance earlier. If you're planning on being at the expo, you need to think about how you're going to appeal to the audience. Just walking won't be enough. In fact, you'd be better off getting rid of that function altogether and having it dance or something. A robot that specializes in dancing. That might be easier to build compared to an all-purpose robot. Depends on the type of dance, though. For example, you could limit its movement to its upper body. Have it do the para-para. Huh? Everybody goes quiet. A moment of silence sets in. What? Do you guys not know the para-para? Is that a dance or something? Yeah, it's popular among high school girls in Shibuya and Harajuku. Or, I guess it used to be popular. Crud, that was over 10 years ago. Talk about a generation gap. Even though we're only like 2 years apart. Maybe it's just a difference in where we were brought up. Let's get back on topic. If it just has upper body movement, we could design it without worrying too much about leg strength. I want Gun Build 2 to do something other than dance. That'd be hard to do, right? Plus, you're all forgetting what lies at the foundation of Gun Build 2. Foundation? What do you mean? The official name of this project is the Let's Build Gunbarrel project. Gun Build 2 has to be Gunbarrel 2. Gunbarrel is a robot of justice, so strength and coolness are a high priority. Tanoji-san nods along with Hakuho's words. She seems to be in agreement. Does it have to be Gunbarrel? One moment, everybody. I'm back. Do you have any robots besides Gunbarrel that you want to make? I'm just saying that we don't need to necessarily follow a pre-existing design. We can make a Robot Club original robot, just like the Tanagashi Machine 3 was for Robo 1. Ugh. But... Akio pouts. Robot Club has been working on the gun build project since it was founded. Want to carry that torch forward. Is that so bad? It's nonsense. I shove 4 fingers into Subaru's mouth after he makes the declaration. What's the matter with you? Can't just let this go for once. Kai. I agree. Jenna timidly raises her hand. I raise my hand as well. 1 vote for Gun Barrel. All eyes point to Frau. Our virtuoso programmer has her head down on the table so we can't see her face. I shall wager my soul. Or, let's just consider her vote invalid. I also think it's a good idea. Let's build Gun Barrel. Oh, but are there going to be any trademark issues? Let me look into it. We might have to get permission from the rights holder. What about you, Subaru-kun? Subaru lowers his shoulders, an indifferent expression on his face. Even if I objected here, there'd be 4 votes for, 1 vote against, and 1 invalid. Then that settles it. Akio let out a sigh of relief. Oh, and the dance stuff I mentioned was just meant to be an example of what we could do. One moment again. I'm back. I just wanted to stress that it doesn't need to be fully capable like a human or anything. Let's see. I think in this case it'd be great if we could recreate Gun Barrel's moves. Tsunoji-san glances over at Junna. Maybe we could have it perform a kata to demonstrate its strength. A kata? Yup. We have an experienced martial artist here, so we should use her. How did Tsunoji-san know that Junna was in the karate club? Did she look up her info on her own? She's friends with Junna on Twipo too, so maybe she found out that way? Anyway, it'd be wonderful if we had a performance like that that could draw an audience. I have a great idea. Akio, already having regained her usual energy, raises her hand up high to solicit attention. What if we implemented a master-slave system and had Jun operate it that way? What would be the master in that case? Jun herself. You mean that Model 2 would trace the movements of its human master, yeah? That's impossible. You watch too much anime. What's a master-slave system? It's a type of robot operation in which the movements of a master are directly translated by the slave. In this case, a human master would be the most intuitive among the options. So, if I perform a straight punch, the robot will do the same? That's exactly it. Cool, but it sounds kind of scary. It's nonsense. There are way too many issues that need resolving before a system like that could be used. If we tried to make a giant robot trace human movements, it would instantly twist and break the movement the moment it moved. The materials used in its motor functionality would have to be dramatically improved over Model 1. I'm just kidding, I didn't think you'd analyze it so seriously. It's pretty hard to tell when you're joking and when you're serious, Aki-chan. Well, sorry. But in all seriousness, in terms of performance, I think we should have it do Gunbarrel's iconic pose. Storm and Surge, Blast of Spirit, Gunbarrel Jakin. Like that. I think it'd be fairly easy to just have it make a single pose. Want to try and incorporate as many poses as possible. What about the exterior skin? Are we going to recreate Gunbarrel's appearance too? Of course, otherwise no one would know that it's Gunbarrel. Hold up, don't tell me you're thinking of cutting its skin to make it lighter or something. I am in fact thinking that. If you want to have more motors, we'll have to lighten the robot accordingly, otherwise it's going to be tough. Can we just make the legs beefy again? Even Model 1's legs were way chunkier than the original Gunbarrel's. If you don't mind it being ugly, sure. I mean, I don't disagree, but don't. The more motors means more joints. And the more weight there is, the more stress applied to said joints. And joints aren't particularly tough. It looks like there's some basic structural proposals in the notebook you prepared for us. One moment. Again. Never mind. Correction, they're actually related to our current discussion. Correct. They're actually related to our current discussion. Basic structural proposal number 1, Monoko Q. Basic structural proposal number 2, hobby robot type. Basic structural proposal number 3, scale model. I have no clue what any of that means. Same. My personal recommendation is the hobby robot type. As we increase the number of motors, we shave off every bit of weight we can. No extra bells or whistles. They'll end up looking like the hobby robot or Mr. Pleiades used. Oh, you mean the legendary champion's most bestest of best partner? The M45, right? That robot is so cool. Mr. Pleiades is super mysterious. He looks like a prince from somewhere far away. Subaru looks like he's about to start writhing in agony in response to Tenoji-san's fangirlisms. I can barely hide my grin. A Subaru? Without skin or plating, it's gonna look super lame for sure. The audience isn't gonna be happy. Tenoji-san said that part of the... One moment. Tenoji-san said that that the performance is important. And damn it, there's a fly. It's annoying. And looks are part of that. If you're dead set on its appearance, you should consider the third option. It says scale model. What does that mean? Exactly what it says. We build a robot that just stands still. Remember the old life-size Gundam in Odaiba back in the day? Something like that. Since we wouldn't have to make it move, we could build it to look exactly like Gunbarrel. Can we just ask a model manufacturer to make something like that? Here it requires a lot of skill to build a mold for that type of robot. We just toss a bunch of cash at a model maker and wipe our hands clean. Then we'd be the model club. We have to make something that moves. Indeed, the robot club makes robots, not exterior molds. That's why we have to compromise on the skin problem. Sure, this is real annoying, what I keep doing. And if we're gonna half-ass it, we should just do away with it all. That's what I've been saying from the start. Ugh. Feeling at a disadvantage, Akio looks over to Subaru's notebook without replying to him. What about the Monokoku thing? Monokoku structure. Isn't that when the skin or exterior is basically merged with the skeleton of the robot? Yes, that's correct. Subaru is still shy around Tanoji-san. He's trying desperately not to make eye contact with her. If we're going to make a giant bipedal robot, I think a Monokoku is the most effective way forward. Really? What would it look like? The most iconic example would be the Gene 2 currently in development by the French company Runo. Yep, that's right. It features a curved exterior that has more rounded structure overall, yeah? Curved structures provide better stability too. The Monokoku structure is ideal if you want to recreate Gunbarrel's form. Oh, then let's go with that. We'd still have to deal with the same issue as the scale model. Who's going to design it? Designing is no simple task. It'd be a special order. We'd have to ask a craftsman to design and build it, a model manufacturer, for example. In the end, we'd outsource the entire project. It'd be costly. That doesn't sound very realistic. Oh. After seeing a slight glimmer of hope, Akio's plummet into disappointment as fast. Especially when we don't know how much of the bill JAXA is willing to front. I just figured I'd come up with as many options as possible, even if they're unrealistic. Tanoji-san, does 100 million yen sound doable? Tanoji-san rapidly shakes her head from left to right. We can't give you that much. I figured. I honestly still believe that your robot needs to have a homemade feel to it. Plus, lots of makers besides Runo use mononym structures for their giant robots, right? If we try to do the same only with a smaller budget and less tech, we have no chance of winning. Feels like the bar is way too high to come up with an idea that's appropriate for the budget. Of course it is. There's money being moved around after all. Besides, robots from all over the world will be there. If we just built up at random, nobody will take us seriously. Hearing Tanoji-san's real talk makes me feel like we should give up. So I agree with Hidaka-kun that the hobby robot type is best suited for what you all want to do. Then depending on what kind of performance it'll be doing, we'll figure out what needs to be cut and what needs to be focused on. Ugh, I'm getting sleepy. Can only keep up with about half of what they're saying. Not that I intended on actually listening to begin with. Might as well take a nap like Frau if I'm not going to understand anything anyways. Or I could kill time playing KB. Akio will probably get mad at me if I do that. Mindlessly stare at my phone droid after opening it to pass the time. Maybe I can give Akio cat ears again using the cat ear mode app from a while back. Crap, I deleted that. I do a search to download it again. Finishes in about 30 seconds, so I boot it up. Without her noticing, I give Akio cat ears and a maid outfit in AR. It's hilarious watching her have a super serious conversation dressed like this. I want to take a picture, but since you can't mute the camera shutter sound, I practiced some self-control. But with Subaru's proposal, we still haven't solved the issue of it not looking like Gunbarrel. Then what if we put stickers on it that have Gunbarrel's color scheme? People are imaginative. They might realize it's Gunbarrel from the colors alone. Ugh, that's so lame. In that case, all I can say is that you should give up on its appearance. Plus, Model 1 was fairly ugly. You said as much yourself, Prez. That's just how it turned out in the end. It wasn't trying to make something ugly. I don't care. With or without its exterior skin, I just want it to look like Gun Barrel. Exterior skin, eh? Just like this cat ear made. Kai, were you playing games while we were talking? Yashio-senpai's been putting cat ears on Press-senpai and grinning about it. What? Again? Curse you, Frau. She was peeking at my phone droid the whole time. Told you to stop giving me cat ears. More importantly, about Model 2's exterior design. Why don't we just use AR like this cat ear maid outfit? Huh? Everyone looks lost. Like Subaru said, we have to keep it lightweight. And that's why we remove its exterior plating. It's our only choice. But as a trade-off, if you look at Model 2 through Itaro, you'll be able to see it as the cool gun barrel. That just sounds like a cheap trick. Who cares if it's a cheap trick? Heck, Model 1's exterior was nothing but a cheap trick too. Yeah, but it's an interesting idea. We'll remove the need to actually mold an exterior. I agree with that. How about it, Akiho-chan? Kai, first of all, delete the cat ears. Fine. The entire app, I mean. Poor cat ear mode. Maybe it was fated for you to be erased from my phone droid twice over. Not that I'm really all that attached. There's one thing that bothers me with Kai's proposal. Who's gonna make the AR gun barrel model? We don't need to make one. We can just reuse the data. Data? The kill ballot data. The creator is right here. Mech creator is still collapsed on the table like a dead fish. You're right. The KB model is super accurate to the anime. One moment, everybody. I'm back, everybody. Oops. I forgot to say that line. No problem. Everything's fine. Well, there you have it. I mean, I didn't do the modeling, though. It's the masterful work of Chu-Chu Yasumasashi, one of my group mates in Tokyo. Lame handle, though, right? Do we need to get permission from this Chu-Chu-san? If I tell him that I'll step on him, he'll listen. What kind of person is this guy? He's 38 with a wife and kids. His hobbies are building plastic models and 3D robot modeling. You're having a sordid affair with him? He's just a member of my group. I step on his back from time to time. This isn't some Orochi. Tokyo sounds terrifying. I couldn't care less with some perverted graphics designer. What's the plan, Prez? Considering the budget and the remaining time, I'm starting to think this is our best option. Alright, let's go with Kai's proposal. Thanks, Kai. Great idea. You're quite welcome. So, when is this meeting gonna wrap up? There are a bunch of other items of business in Subaru's outline. If we tackle them all, it'll take ages. As far as I'm concerned, this is just one big waste of time. I'd like to go home now. And yet, we solved the issue of its appearance, but we still have loads of topics left to cover. The materials, for example. I remember seeing a few proposals regarding materials in your notebook. Even if we're going to go the hobby robot route, a giant bipedal robot's weight is on a different level. By simple calculation, if its height is 10 times taller. Its weight is to be 1,000 times heavier. Really? Yep. Cubic volume. Oh, I knew that too. Yashio-senpai has the brain of an elementary school boy. Doo-hoo-hoo-hoo. 1 meter taller than gun barrel, weighing 10 kilograms, scaled to 10 meters with the same material. Would weigh 10,000 kilograms and be 100 times heavier. But I was too embarrassed to say that out loud. If it's going to be that much heavier, it's not like it's going to make a difference if we change the materials and the like. The legs won't be able to support its own weight, especially if we increase the number of joints. As a countermeasure, we can either make the legs thicker or use material that can withstand the total weight. So, what are the solutions you came up with, Subaru? Steel, stainless steel, duraluminia, carbon, aluminum, magnesium. Iron is cheap but heavy, aluminum is light but expensive, and compared to iron, it's not as durable. Whether we prioritize the material's lightness versus its durability is also something we have to think about. Which should we go with? If we're going to make the robot dance and perform karate katas, I feel that we should use a lighter material. Why? Heavier it is, the more torque it requires in order to move. The lighter, the less torque. I see. I guess that's also connected to our power source. Also, it may be harsh on the budget, but there's a technique that uses a new material that's gained traction. Oh, I see. It's written in small letters in the margin. Carbon nanotubes, CFRP, etc. Most recently, I heard that Exoskeleton is building a prototype hug using a graphene. And granted, they don't make giant bipedal robots, but if we used carbon nanotubes and CFRP to make the robot, wouldn't it turn out more like a scale model? The Gundam in Odaiba also had a steel skeleton with an FRP skin. I believe it'll reduce the weight tremendously, but the cost increase will be just as large. So that's a no-go. Making all these parts out of carbon fiber reinforced plastic would be a little much. But if we applied a sheet of CFRP onto the surface of the aluminum, that alone would drastically improve its durability. I see. If we do that, can we stay within budget? Well, her laughing leads me to believe it's still a sizable chunk of cash. Recently, mass production of new materials became simpler, so it's way cheaper than it was 10 years ago. But even then, I still think it'll be rough on the budget. Let me talk to the higher-ups about the material issue. Looks like she's gonna give it a shot. But Uncle Sonomiya is always complaining about how JAXA doesn't have as much money as NASA. We probably shouldn't expect too much. Then let's put the material discussion on hold for now. And talk about how we're gonna power the robot. It's come up a few times already. Oh, stretch. One moment, again. I'm so sorry. I am back. This is going to greatly affect weight reduction. I'm going to try and speed through this. For gun build 1, the diesel engine and generator were really heavy. It was nonsense to even consider putting a diesel engine in a robot. Wait, really? My sister said that the fastest way to power a robot is to mount an electric automobile engine to it. She wrote that it's common in Gun Build 1's blueprints. It's true that it eliminates the need for a generator. But be that as it may, the power is insufficient. I'm not really following. Jenna raises her hand timidly. A car will move with an engine, right? But the engines are not suited for robots? Excellent question. She sounds like a teacher. She might be better in that role than Michi. In a car, an engine's piston movement is converted to rotary motion by the crankshaft in order to turn the wheels. For robots, however, we need to move the servo motors, not the wheels. But unlike the wheels of a car, servo motors do not necessarily all face the same direction. Plus, we're not trying to move all the motors at the same time at the same speed either. That's why simple rotation mechanics won't work. At the end of the day, we have to control each motor individually. And in order for us to accomplish that, what we require is electrical power. One moment again. I'm so... I'm back. Model 1 converted its engine's vertical movement into rotational movement, which then activated the generator. And then it moved each motor with the electricity it generated. So it was fairly inefficient. Should have had external engines attached via cable. Then it wouldn't have to get inside the stupidly awful cockpit. Like an umbilical cable? Excuse me? Is that different from an umbilical cord? The reason I didn't go with cables is because I wanted to prioritize walking. If it was connected to a cable, we could have run the risk of it breaking off or getting tangled around its feet. That's why it was stored in the body, and this is how it's been since the original blueprint phase. With that walking speed, I doubt there was any risk of that happening. What about the small power generators you see people use for stalls at summer festivals? Why couldn't we use something like that to generate electricity? I don't think the output would be enough. Even a diesel engine meant for trucks couldn't do the trick. A small generator would only move gun build's feet a few millimeters, if that. Oh, okay. Model 1's servo motors being powered by electricity also had an effect. There was just way too much power consumption. That said, if we used hydraulics or pneumatics, the devices would be heavy and hard to control. Expensive too. This all sounds like a giant pain in the butt. If only there was a generous person out there who'd be willing to part with their used power shovel for free. Then we could utilize its hydraulic motor. There's no way a sugar daddy like that is just gonna appear out of nowhere. And I guess we gotta go with wired electricity. Your sister's concerns about wires getting tangled is still a good point, though. You're nothing to write home about, but your sister is quite the designer. Excuse me? Calm down, Aki-chan. He's just pointing out the truth. Here, have some skull. Akio tucked a bottle of Skull into her bag before leaving the meeting. Why do you only ever act heroic during times like these? Akio pouts and takes a swig from the bottle. Skull! One moment. Must be nice to be able to regain your energy with just a single drink. Let's assume that we'll be using an external... Here we go, speedrun. Let's assume that we'll be using an external power source for now. We can always make it a wireless system. Oh, a wireless power supply, right? I remember you telling me all about that a while back. You hear a lot about that tech these days. Phone droids have wireless power supplies in terms of consumer products. Stores sell them for hobby robots. We wouldn't need an engine generator or batteries, and we wouldn't require cables either. It says in your notebook, electrical and magnetic field resonator. Is that the official name? Correct. They're also known as magnetic resonators. Simply put, it's the same principle as resonance with a tuning fork. Isn't that expensive? You said so before. In order to extract energy from it, we would need a giant coil, so it might come with a high price tag. Have you accounted for the coil's weight? What? You're going to mount the large coil to the robot instead of an engine or generator, right? How heavy would this coil be? I imagine it'll be slightly lighter than the total sum of the diesel engine's weight combined with the generators. Since Model 2 will likely require more power than Model 1, the power device will have to be bigger than Model 1's. Comparatively, a coil would be on the lighter side. Would it provide sufficient power? That, I don't know. One of the cons of the magnetic resonator is that its transmission efficiency is less than optimal. For the size of the device we're dealing with, we may not be able to extract much power from it. For real? Oh, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we can't go wireless. There are other kinds of wireless power supplies too. Why don't we consider those too? What other kinds? It looks like the thought hadn't crossed Subaru's mind. He looks uncharacteristically confused. You mean electromagnetic induction? That's what phone droids use. The issue is that they only transmit power over a few centimeters of distance. Not that. There are actually a couple more ways you can do it. Tenoji-san begins looking up something on her phone droid. Oh, right here, laser transmission and microwave transmission. Both of them use the same principles as electromagnetic induction. The only difference is that the method of transmission power is converted to EM waves, laser beams, and microwaves. EM waves have low directivity, so the energy easily disperses. But laser beams and microwaves, unlike EM waves, have very high directivity. In other words, you can transmit energy farther without worrying about dispersal. Huh, cool. Let's go with that then. Oh, but microwave transmission isn't suited for powering giant robots, so just ignore that option. Wait, why not? Since we're sending literal microwaves, everything around is going to feel like being in a microwave oven. Anybody nearby would die. Same if they were in the cockpit. Ugh. How can she talk about something so gruesome with the usual smile on her face? It's like she's smiling, but her eyes clearly aren't. What about the laser transmission? Is that safe? If you point the laser at someone, they might die. Oh, but laser beams glow and are visible to the naked eye, and only travel in a straight line. The danger of someone dying is a lot lower than if we used a microwave. The transmission device would end up being a whole lot of work. But for the receiver, you'd only need to mount a parabolic antenna and a battery onto the robot. How big would they be? If we were to manually aim the laser from the transmission device, then the size of the antenna wouldn't matter. But since the robot will always be moving, a small antenna may be difficult to target. So we'll need to take that into consideration to make sure we pick the appropriate size. A laser death beam, huh? Akio closes her eyes and crosses her arm, then she slips into thought. It's like she's in a trance. I can understand Akio's hesitation on this. This is far too dangerous for any of us to handle. We should stick to the safe, wired option. Akio's eyes suddenly open wide. She has a grin on her face. That sounds kind of cool. Like a beam rifle or something. I totally forgot that's who you are, Aki-chan. You're just that kind of gal. Isn't this too dangerous? If we make a mistake, someone could end up dead. And we're going to use something that's at the something like that at the expo venue. I'm scared. Haha. Well, that's just assuming we go with the wireless power source. I'm just here to point out that the technology exists. I also personally think that our best bet is to go with a wired power supply. If we were to use a laser beam transmission, we wouldn't be able to have a pilot ride the robot. Because they die? Tanoji-san nods her head. Cold chill runs through my body. Even if we don't use a laser beam transmission, it should be remotely operated. Prez, don't tell me you're still grasping to the master-slave concept. I told you I was only kidding. But I do insist on having someone ride in the cockpit. I wanted that from the start. Only because you think it's cool, right? Exactly. Well, here we go. Like I've said a billion times, a robot's true value lies in being able to ride inside of it. I personally want to spend the most time on its cockpit. I was really unsatisfied with how Gunbuild 1's turned out. Don't you want to operate with levers? I can't be alone on this. Don't look at me for approval. Oh, and a 360-degree omnidirectional display. It'd show the front, back, sides, above, and below the robot. But that might be a little too normal, actually. Master-slave system would also be really great. The reason I said it was a joke was because it's kind of embarrassing. With the master-slave, the pilot would have to wear a skin-tight suit, right? Can't just show up in something like that, it'd be so embarrassing. If Kai were the pilot, fine. But imagine if me or Jun had to ride it in an emergency situation. Nope, 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 nope. I'd die of embarrassment. Anyways, a master-slave system would be crazy cool even if it's unrealistic. So if you ask me, I'd probably go with a handle if I want to avoid cliches, and Akio suddenly comes to her senses. She looks at us with a stiff smile. I guess I got a little worked up there. Totes delusional. Aughts. You sure look like you were having fun, Akiho-chan. We're not playing with toy robots here. I'm sorry. She really loses it when it comes to robots. Shouldn't we ask the pilot for his opinion on the cockpit? Yashio-kun? Is she really asking me? She's just got finished talking about a power source that'd kill the pilot if they went inside. How nonchalant. I don't want to die. The end. I don't remember volunteering to be the pilot. Oh, please. Weren't you the pilot during Robo 1 and Model 1's test the other day? Pure happenstance. I didn't want to do either. If you force me to pilot Model 2, I'm quitting the Robot Club right here and now. What? Don't say that. I told you I don't want to die. If you're using laser beam transmission, remote operation is a must. What about you, Daisuke-san? Me? Asking Juno will just yield the same answer. I heard that you're also a pilot. I was just told to do it by the president of Space Candy. I mean, the Space Candy president keeps telling me to do it, and I keep turning him down. So I haven't done anything, really. Whoa, don't cry. Tsunoji-san gets flustered when she sees Juna's tearful eyes. She hands her a handkerchief and starts rubbing Juna's small back. Alright, I understand the current situation. Make pretend if you were the pilot, which method would you prefer? Juna glances at Akio to check her expression. Akio wears a lonely smile on her face. I figured she'd try and pressure Juna into it, but I guess she's given up. I don't want to die either. Well, of course not. That settles it. Remote operation is the way to go, especially when you consider the weight issue. Okay. Kai and Jun's lives are more important than building a robot. I don't want to put them in a dangerous situation. Wow, an uncharacteristically decent opinion. What's that supposed to mean? She glares at me, just like her older sister did. So we're gonna make a giant robot built like a hobby robot that make it remotely operated. In that case, this should be right up your alley, Ashio-kun. You got me all wrong, Tsunoji-san. The reason why I agreed to do Robo 1 was because we have the KB control scheme available to us. Otherwise, it would not have made a difference if it were me or not. In other words, I pause for a beat so that everyone hears me clearly. I'll never pilot it unless it has the same control scheme as Kill Ballad. Got it. It's like everyone's trying to make me the pilot against my will. But if we go for the remote operation route, we'd eliminate any danger from the process. Juna can do it and our sponsor would be happy. Then how about just programming KB's control system into Model 2? Frau, who had been facing down on the table this entire time, suddenly mumbles. Didn't see this one coming. Haha. Try to laugh it off with complete with a fake smile. Unfortunately, Akio latches right onto it. One moment. Let's do that. Wait, seriously? Fraubo mentioned it herself, which surely means she's going to program it for us, right? I've been waiting for you to step up to the plate, Fraubo. Ugh. Frau turns the other way as Akio draws closer. This and that are unrelated. This is your chance to show us what you've got. We need your programming skills in order to make Gun Build 2, Fraubo. So pretty please, write us up a program, please. If you agree to do that, I'll ditch the cockpit system. I'm also for implementing KB's controls. In fact, I was thinking of asking Furugori to construct the overall control system for Model 2. The quality of Model 2's programming is likely to become its most important element. If we have a reliable control system, we can overcome spec issues. No thank you. Frau frowns and shakes her head. I'm terra busy. Don't have time for that. But wait, you're the one who brought up the idea. I'm going to describe what just happened to me. I proposed implementing KB's controls, but then suddenly, I'm tasked with doing the whole control system. You might not understand what I'm saying, but I don't understand either. I mean, you might as well, right? Aren't you a self-proclaimed prodigy? Don't make it sound like programming is no big deal. I bet you think I just sit in front of a PC and tip-tap the night away or something. I understand. Like hell, it's not that easy at all. Don't you underestimate programming! Plus, I don't know the first thing about a real robot's programming. Or, did we upset her? Maybe she's just stressed from the countless demands of KB players. Subaru, on the other hand, looks unfazed. Swakio ends up apologizing on his behalf. I'm sorry, I really am. But you're a member of the Robot Club too, Fraubo, and you're the only one who we can trust with this. I didn't join because I wanted to. I only write programs I want to write. This isn't good, she's totally upset. Let's put the programming issue on hold. We're probably not going to get anywhere right now. Now let's talk about the pilot, or I guess the operator, since it'll be remote controlled. We're gonna have to put that on hold too, because we don't know what type of control method is going to be. Frau brought up the KB system, so does she intend on programming it into the robot? If she does, I'm gonna end up having to be the operator. Let's do that. I can write KB system configured for giant robots. Curse you, you damn shut-in. Thank goodness. You're a lifesaver, Fraubo. So now that we've decided on a controlled method, the operator is decided on. Wait, hold on. Are you sure? Just like that? Kai, did you already forget what you said earlier? I'll never pilot it unless it has the same control scheme as Kill Ballad. Own up to your words, Kai. She's acting like she's my big sister or something. Then you'll have to beat... It's done. This is a dictatorship. I demand the club be shut down. Fine, let's take a vote. All in favor of Kai being the operator. Everybody raises their hands. Gee, I'm so popular. I guess I dug my own grave. And I have one other request. I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry about that, everyone. It's been a long episode, and half of it has just been me muting. What is it? I'll be the operator. I don't really have a choice in the matter. That's a lot of pressure for just me to handle. Can we make Jun-chan the sub-operator? Huh? Jenna jerks in response. Why do you look so surprised? You were technically one of Model 1's pilots. Well, like I said earlier, it was only because the Space Candy president said... Is Space Candy going to continue to sponsor us through Model 2's development? We won't know until we talk to them. What the president wants is definitely important, but I personally want Jun-chan as my sub-operator. It won't be dangerous this time. Can you help me out? Yashio-kun. After hesitating for a while, Jenna meekly nods her head. If I can be of help, if she were the sporty type, this would be where she'd be going on about how we can do it. I'm sorry, I have to... But I can't imagine Jenna ever doing something like that. Anyway, I managed to avoid being the only person responsible. I'm happy just to have an excuse to get me out of club activities. As long as Jun is there, I'm good to go. We have one other unresolved matter to discuss. The motor. An electricity-driven servo motor won't have enough torque and will consume too much power. It'd be impossible to make the robot perform a kata or dance. Lots of makers use hydraulic systems, plus they have a long history being used for labor robots. Yeah. Ah, what if we tried to use that thing? Oops, sorry. What do you mean by that? The thing that fell from the sky the other day. The Yeah. I drove 4 fingers into Akio's mouth. What's your malfunction? Swiftly transitioned into a headlock while Akio squirms. I keep our idiot president's head under my arm. Can you promise to keep that a secret? Akio immediately stops resisting. Once I let go, she goes quiet, tear-filled eyes and all. What's going on? What's that supposed to be? Gunvanium alloy. What a lame lie. That's just fictional. It was a joke in violation of our club code of conduct. A president may be dismissed for joking around too much. I realized I made a mistake. I apologize. I'm glad she gets it. I guess we'll place the motor situation on hold as well. Subaru obviously clears his throat and forcefully ends the conversation. but we have a general idea of the direction we should head in. There are a lot of things on hold. I think we can call it a day. Sounds good to me. That was a very productive meeting. Hopefully we can nail down the more nebulous issues sooner rather than later. Who's going to be designing Model 2? Subaru softly raises his hand. I'll also be contributing as well. Best of luck to the both of you. I believe the parts we discussed today should stay within budget. The material situation is on hold, but I'll try and negotiate with the folks at the top to get them to cooperate. Space Candy Company, was it? If they can continue their sponsorship, that'd be a huge help too. Akio-chan, can you go talk to the president? Of course. But I'm kind of surprised. Why? Dad always went on about how JAXA had no money and stuff. But after all our demands, I can't believe that you agreed to provide the funding just like that. Is this whole support project part of something much larger? No, not at all. But there are a lot of high expectations. That's why we're being so flexible, hee-ho. Tenoji-san giggles, but once again her eyes are not laughing or smiling. Who is this girl? Believe it or not, that is not the end of the episode. Excuse me. As I knock and enter the office, Chief Sonomiya stands up to welcome me. Hey, Tenoji-kun, have a seat. I sit on the guest sofa as told. Want some tea? I also have some jelly that bought yesterday. Oh gosh. Sorry about that. Oh gosh. You don't have to serve me tea, Chief. I'm just a little old newbie. Think nothing of it. This is just how I am. Oh, but what's it get to you? You've never tried them before? They're a snack from Kagoshima. He holds out a triangle-shaped brownish treat. It's about the same size as the sandwiches sold at convenience stores. They're sweet snacks made with brown sugar. They pair really well with bitter tea. Huh. I'll try one. I pick one up and notice how sticky it is. I can imagine the taste just from touching it. Then I take a bite. It's so sweet. Just like I thought. If anything, I don't think I could finish one without some tea. Anyway, how did your talk with the Robot Club go? He sits down on the sofa facing me hesitantly brings up the subject. I came here to report on exactly that. As for the double, I don't think they're for me. I put it down on a plate so I can talk. After I lick my sticky fingers, I begin the report. Sent you an email regarding the details earlier, Chief. Yes, I've seen it. Wait, already? He must be really curious about the Robot Club, or should I say his daughter. What an adorable father. He reminds me of my own dad back in Tokyo. Wonder what he's doing now. Is he getting by on his own? Wait, this isn't the time for that. They appear to have settled on a hobby robot kind of design. Oh, that'll be a real challenge. Fascinating. Their ways of thinking is really flexible. Just talking to them about it is fun. Wonderful, wonderful. That sounds great. Oh, to be young again. He looks so happy, almost as if it were all about him. But the Chief's expression quickly darkens. However, Looked into the budget estimate, and how can I put this? Total sum is above expectations. I highly doubt this is going to get approved. Oh, no worries about that. I'm sure it'll work out. No, I really don't think it will. You don't know because you're relatively new here, but Japan's been in recession for a while now. Space development and tech are the first things cut in the budget. The reason we haven't started any of our own giant bipedal robot projects is that the budgets don't get approved. JAXA isn't a business. It's an independent administrative agency. So for budgets to get passed, there are all kinds of tricky paperwork and government involvement to push through. Of course I know that. I'm going to be heading back to Tokyo next month, so I'll work out something then. I think it'll probably work out. The chief is shocked by my words. What do you mean, probably? I mean, I have a chance at coming out on top. This is just support work. And you're still a rookie researcher. Indeed I am. But I want to do something about this. I don't want their dreams and passion toward robots to be all for naught. I mean this 100%. I can sense a great deal of possibility from those kids. What? You're a strange girl. Sometimes I can't help but wonder exactly who you really are. I face the bewildered chief and answer with my usual smile. I'm nobody. I'm just a rookie researcher. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is another episode of Robotics Notes Elite like Animal Crossing. I will see you tomorrow, hopefully for a much shorter episode. But until then, and I'm going to remember to say it the first time this time so I don't have to re-record a new outro. Nochio!